Hi, so welcome to Expat Migration. You could call me Mr. Nomad Capitalist, not like your six, seven, and eight figure entrepreneur. However, I'm simply going to share my experience and my thoughts based on the review of Andrew Henderson's recommendation in terms of 9 strategies to exit Canada now. The first, I believe, should have been get a second residency, right? It's important that you figure out which country is going to be your second home, where's going to be a new residency, where exactly you're going to escape to, right? So whether it's going to be the Caribbean, Europe, Africa, or Asia, Central Europe, right? First you got to determine what's going to be your new flag, right? Is it going to be Spain? Is it going to be Portugal? Based on the new residency program they have there and the CBI programs, that's citizenship by investment. What are some of the requirements in order to move for yourself and your family? What's the size of your family? And what's going to be the total cost involved? So that's the first thing. Determine which flag you're going to be at next in terms of your location, but it's going to be Mexico, St. Lucia, Grenada. Have that figured out first, right? Assess the climate situation, what it's like there. Is it somewhere from your ancestry where you could easily acquire residency based on descent? So, example, if you're from Grenada, what's the process like to acquire citizenship by descent there? Likewise, if you're thinking of South Africa, do you have a family there who, in your bloodline, your mom, your dad, your grandparents, where you could acquire residency and citizenship based on descent? So have this figured out, and once you're clear, more clarity, you'll have a stronger direction and you'll know how exactly to move forward, which brings me to the next step. Once you have this figured out, which country you're going to be at, you got to set up a foreign bank account, right? So give the documentations there, know what's required in terms of your ID, right? Driver's license, your passport. Figure out where's the next place you could park some cash because you have to build some type of history quickly. And these documentations will also help to speed along your transition process. So that's something to carefully think about. So example, if you're going to Europe, what's the rate with HSBC? If you're going to places like France, for example, if you're going to bank with Societe Generale or Banque Nationale, etc. You got to figure out if these banks will also accept you based on your current citizenship. And that's one very important point I think Andrew may have skipped over in this video, right? Or that video. So for example, if you travel to places in Europe, they give you a very difficult time to open a second bank account or a foreign bank account if they know you're coming from the United States, because we all know by now, United States taxes you based on your worldwide income, and most persons don't want to run into implications having to deal with um, strong teeth of the IRS. So these are important things you got to look at first, and brings me to my next point. How are you going to have some clarity on this type of information? Guys, you got to join groups, right? You got to join groups in terms of connecting with people who have boots on the ground. So if you're going to relocate to South Africa, visit some online groups you could find maybe in Facebook, Expats in South Africa, expats in Zanzibar, expats in France, expats in Spain, or Americans in Spain, Canadians in Spain, right? So search these groups out. You could find many of them on Facebook. There's also independent websites like expats.com. You could research, and that will give you a lot of help and directions, strength and community, where you could ask all the relevant questions, something maybe you didn't think about if you like to relocate in a particular community. Maybe the garbage pickup is not awesome there, you're not used to your once a week garbage coming in, you're putting out your recycle, you're putting out your cardboards, you're putting out organic trash. Maybe it's not as organized, and you may be traveling with young kids, maybe 2 or 3 year olds, right? So those are some of the factors you want to consider, because it's a new environment. It's something that you won't be used to. And, you don't want to feel like you made the wrong decisions there. So joining expert groups, it helps to eliminate some of those pain points that you can anticipate once you transition into your new country. That said, you have to determine your exit income, right? You got to set a budget, figure out how much this relocation will cost for you and your family, right? From the plane tickets, right? From maybe selling your car or shipping your car. If you plan to travel with your beloved car, you've been driving old Betsy for 14 years, you don't want to let go of Betsy. If you move to Europe, right? Figure out the cost, table a budget, and you know how much is going to move, how much is going to cost us to move from point A to point B, right? So table a budget, determine your exit income, right? So all the money that you're getting from your little paycheck, are you putting away 10% to your exit, right? Are you trying to save 50%? Are you picking up a second job? Are you trying to do some extra work on the weekend? Are you trying to sell some of your unused items that's been a bit dusty? You gotta, get a little dust cloth, clean up, repackage, maybe sell on Amazon or eBay to get a few extra bucks, because every dollar counts if you're really serious about relocating. Okay. Um, so after determining then your exit income, right? That's one part. Part B is, how are you gonna maintain your lifestyle? How are you gonna earn and provide for your family, right? What are you gonna do when you get to the new location, right? I know the transition and picking up a second job may be much easier for those who work in the IT sector, right? So you could start to research some of the top 100 companies who will accept you to work remotely, right? Despite maybe being an American, being Canadian, for example, there's no issue around taxes. You're totally independent, and you could work to maintain your high income, because if you're going to shift to a new location, if your monthly expenses maybe 5,000 Canadian, right? You got to make sure that your new job, it's covering those expenses, right? And if that's going to be the cost in your new location, if you're going to move to places like the Caribbean, you won't have your Amazon. Things will be a lot costly, especially if you're going to import maybe a video camera, maybe some furnitures, right, to decorate your home. In these countries like the Caribbean, right? I don't want to say third world nations, but many places like the Caribbean, there's very high import taxes. And those are some of the factors very important for you to consider in determining your exit income. And you could also call it your exit budget, right? So have that figured out, and things will be a lot easier for you. Um, so for those of us who don't work, but we run our own business, that brings me to point number 5. You got to figure out how to restructure your business, right? Do you require to oversee how your business is being run, right? Is your physical presence really required to keep the show going, right? If that's yes, you got to figure out how you can restructure your business model to give more control online, right? And you could start to maybe contract third-party agency, right, who could come around and probably vet the warehouse once a week, right, and have competent persons online, right, who could manage and keep the show going. So you got to figure out your business structure now, your business structure, how you'd like it to be. If you would like to keep the show going on, maintain the income of the Canadian dollar, it may not be as strong as the euros or the American dollar, But chances are, if you go into the Caribbean, it will be much more significant versus earning, um, for example, in St. Lucia, if you're going to relocate to St. Lucia, Eastern Caribbean dollars, right? So figure out what the exchange rate will be, and that will help you along the way. Brings me to my next point, number 6. So if you're a homeowner, by now you have been taking advantage of the market increase, right? I know in Canada, market has jumped up since 2019, well over 54% the last time I look at a report, right? So take equity from your property. You like to maintain your property here, take maybe $200,000 equity based on the current market. If you have that, you could easily purchase a new property in your destination, wherever you plan to relocate. Additionally, you could also choose to sell your property altogether. If you said, man, I'm done, I'm wiping my hands clean, I don't want anything to do with this country anymore, bam, you could sell your property and you'll have a lot more cash to play with. So you could acquire a new property in your new location, right? Which brings me to the 7th point. And purchasing a new property, it's important that you get all the documentations together in terms of, if you're a business owner, maybe your last two years of cash flow or income statement, right? And this will help you to really engage with local banks. You could negotiate a lower interest rate. For example, in the Caribbean, the rule of thumb is 5 to 8%, right? And if you're going to pay, usually pay 60% for the property costs, and the next 40 you could acquire financing from the bank at maybe 5 to 8% interest. If you're able to buy the property outright, more power to you. Not going to offer you recommendations whether to spend half and use the next half to do something else, but you have to have that part figured out. And unlike Andrew, I won't recommend to stop paying taxes, right? Exiting and relocating, it's got to be a process. And you don't want to literally ghost yourself from the system, right? You still would like to take advantage of some of the benefits, right? So if you're going to get your EI, your insurance unemployment check, you still want to keep covering some of the taxes. So, you're upstanding citizen and you don't want to suddenly not pay and then, government come with some frivolous reason to say, okay, let's deny this guy his check, right? That's or his retirement or his pension. So you got to figure out how you're going to navigate that part. I'm not a tax expert, but I won't suggest that you just completely stop paying taxes, right? If you do want to take it that road, by now you must have acquired a second citizenship. So if you're going to stay out of the country for more than 6 months, or the rule of 183, 84 days, right, over a long period of time, you won't be a tax resident anymore. And that will be helpful. So you're not being charged and on the book here in Canada or in a new location. So that's, you got to figure out. And finally, you got to exit. I know it's a white elephant in the room that most persons don't talk about, especially if you got the juice or you don't got the juice. You know what I mean? Those of us read between the lines, you'll know what I'm talking about. The restriction is very heavy. If you don't get the juice, you can't travel with the national airline. However, there's a few smaller carriers that allows you to exit. If you're going to save and you're really hell bent on leaving, right? You got to budget and make sure you have one, enough cash for yourself and the size of your family to exit by charter carrier. That I mean to say by a private jet, right? It can range in between 5 to 7,000 or more based on the location and the number of persons traveling. So that's something to consider. If you have any background, maybe in operating a vessel, maybe like a yacht or a boat that really can cross international sea waters, I'd strongly suggest you consider getting yourself a boat license. If you don't, consider that as well, or you could hire a captain to help you and your family get to your new location. So those are some of the points I wanted to share. I think it's noteworthy to consider. Like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. And thanks for listening. And remember, welcome to Expat Migration. And here is where we help you to relocate, do business, and travel. We still gotta live, guys. So it's not all doom and gloom. It's all about strategy, discussing with like-minded individuals so we could live our best life. Ciao.